What's good? What's good, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Urban Platform Speaks. Make sure to like and subscribe as you tune into the channel and check out the content. With that being said, man, I want to speak about the Lakers, right? And one of the Lakers' problem is their inconsistency. Um, so now the Lakers will beat up on teams that are like weaker than them and teams that they just really better than, right? Case in point, they just beat up on the Atlanta, they just beat up on Atlanta Hawks. And so LeBron had a really good game. Luca, DeAndre Ayton, everybody had good games, right? But you have to have more consistency. And where you can be consistent at is at the defensive end. And that's what I always say about it, like a lot of basketball teams. Like sometimes your shot is going to be off. But defense can be consistent. Like that effort that you put out as far as your defense can be consistent. That's like the one thing that you really can, that's you can really definitely be consistent with the defense. And so I know that the Lakers, like you say, people say LeBron's not really all that good on defense. He could put forth a better effort, Luca and Austin Reeves. But also DeAndre Ayton, right? And with DeAndre Ayton, I know he want the ball and he's calling for the ball and stuff more, but his biggest role on his team should be like on the defensive end, protecting the rim and challenging everything that comes into that paint. That way, if you was able to get DeAndre Ayton to do that, then that would even make the three guys out front better defenders. Because now if he gamble on defense, or if Austin Reeves gamble on defense, or LeBron, it won't hurt the team as much. But I know that like a lot of times, like it's saying like it's sometimes the guys just allow people to just like breeze right by them, without even challenging them. But if you could get this guy right here, DeAndre Ayton, to protect that rim, challenge everything in the paint, and not so much worry about, the offensive end. Every once in a while, you'll get him some baskets and stuff like that. But DeAndre Ayton's problem is that he wants to be a bigger part of the offense, but his game is not like that. You can feed him from time to time, and some nights it's gonna be clicking for him on the offensive end some nights, like it was against the Hawks, right? It was clicking, but on nights that is not clicking like that, and sometimes he'll have a matchup advantage, then he can, those nights, then yeah, you just feed him and you let him do his thing at that end. But for the most part, he need to be giving better effort on that defensive end. And with this guy, he just so inconsistent, and you really can't count on him to give the effort on the defensive end that you need. I think that the Lakers probably are going to look to trade him and move him, because he's just too much of a he's not very mature and too much of a malcontent when it comes to his attitude and his approach to the game. So and I think I was watching the running back podcast, and they were kind of alluding to this, like the fact that he's DeAndre Ayton is a little bit inconsistent, right? And calling for the ball, like he's focused on things that he's more selfish than what they need him to be, especially at the offensive end. So with that being said, I'm going to play the audio from running back and then allow them to say what they got to say, and I'm gonna add my 2 cents to it.
Team, and LeBron was awesome. Like DeAndre Ayton was awesome without getting play calls, without asking for the ball. It's not like they were feeding DeAndre Ayton. He played within the offense. He played hard, and he had a motor last night. Like that matters. That's all he's got to do with his size and physicality, is do exactly what he did last night and just be active and go get offensive rebounds, go get on the glass. To 18 rebounds, 17, 18. If he does this, I guarantee you the Lakers will have a much better chance winning when they have that X factor type night and player with him. You're going to have a lot of volume with Luca. Luca's going to have the ball in his hands. He's going to score 30 plus points majority of the night. LeBron James is still so valuable and still so solid. Other guys are going to sprinkle in some, but DeAndre Ayton, to me, is the X factor. And a night like last night, this makes a huge difference because you know what you're going to get with the other guys. But when you see DeAndre Ayton floating and act, and there's certain times I watch him and I'm like, does he even care? And then the next night I watch him, I'm like, God, this guy is an all-star type player. So this just you can just tell. I feel like he's one of those guys you can tell right away what kind of night it's going to be for him. And last night you knew that he was going to be a factor. And look at that, 15-1 when he scores 15 plus points.
See, and I agree 100% with that, right? Some nights he's going to be able to get it going on the offensive end. But if I'm his coach, or and even before you even get to the coaching standpoint of it, when he came there to the Lakers, everybody know his past, everybody know his reputation, right? So right off the bat, this is where you want to be honest with players and just say, look, this is going to be your role here. This is what we need you to do. Can you do this? We need you to, on offense, on the defensive end, man, we need you to challenge people at the defensive, at the rim, affect people's shots and just make people work hard on the defensive end. We want you to focus on rebounding at the defensive end, right? And if y'all can come to that agreement before you even sign him, because I knew, because this guy, he just gets so when he was at Portland, like he was shut down. And before that, even when he was at he was at Phoenix. Like if he get frustrated and he don't feel like he's getting the ball enough, that he was shut down. But he also he's a professional, right? And he's been in the league long enough to know that everybody has a role when it comes to, and everybody need to stay in their lane in order for the team to have success. I think the Lakers would be a lot better off if DeAndre Ayton understood his role, because if he's not, if you're not on the same page with a guy like DeAndre Ayton, and every once in a while he'll show up and he'll have a night like he did against the Hawks, that's cool. But you want this guy every night on defense to get rebounds and block shots. I know he wants the ball more down the other end, but that's not his role, and if I just don't get why teams don't bring these guys in, man, and sit down and be like, look, can you do this? Is this something that you're interested in? I think we can win like this. If you play like this and you do your job, then I think we can win like this. But if you don't want, if that's not what you want, then they should allow him to go somewhere else, where let somebody else take on that headache. Because if you give him if you mislead him and tell him like, okay, you're going to have a stronger offensive presence here, and he's just not an offensive, he can get it going to sometime, and he can get it like in the flow of the offense sometime, right? But he's not the guy where everybody just going to run their offense through him. And so that's why I think these coaches and these general managers, when they bring certain players in, well, when you bring anybody in, you definitely have to you got to be honest and you got to be upfront and let these guys know what their role is. And if he can't do that, or maybe they did have that conversation, right? And he's going back, on his end of the deal, then you got the trade deadline coming up. And maybe you can trade him and get something for him, or you got younger players on the bench, like anybody who's going to play hard. This would be an opportunity for somebody on the bench. If you can play hard and you can rebound and defend, then this is how you earn your minutes. I would sit him down. I would definitely sit him down and trade him. When is the trade deadline? I think it's in February. It's coming up in February, like the first week in February, something like that. And I would just try to see what I could get for DeAndre Ayton, because he is like the inconsistency is not going to help the Lakers. You need this guy, like that is his job. Like you're the defender and the rebounder. Just like the other guy. What's the guy name that's dang, man, I was just thinking of his name. But the other big guy who won defensive player of the year, he played with Anthony Edwards right now. But anyway, I think of it in a second. But yeah, man, this like his role on my team, he would just be rebound and play defense. You'll see a little action on the offensive end, but for the most part, you got Luka. Luka gonna feed him the ball, and sometimes he's gonna, like I said, sometimes he's gonna have it going. But I just, DeAndre Ayton, man, is somebody who I would, I would get. I would just trade him. I just trade him. And you probably at this stage in his career, you probably won't get a lot, but at least I'll get somebody who gonna play defense. That's what the Lakers need. They need defense. And this guy right here, he wants to be, their number one or number two option at the offensive end when he is just not that. So that's my take on it. Make sure to like and subscribe. Rudy Gobert. That's the guy who I was talking about, Rudy Gobert. Yeah, so that would be his role on this team, just like Rudy Gobert, just play defense and and rebound. So yeah, man, y'all make sure to like and subscribe. Don't forget to leave a comment. And with that being said, I'm gonna check you all out in the next video. Peace.